besides being a great privilege to be a speaker here and to open up this event, it is also a great responsibility for me. I feel a great responsibility. We have come from very many different places. We speak many different languages, not only linguistically, but otherwise. And it is important that while we are here, when we will be talking a great deal, we will talking in the same language. We will be able to talk and understand one another. So a very simple but somewhat difficult task is to start from the beginning to find agreement on what do we really mean when we say pilgrimage. What do we really mean when we say love? What do we really mean when we say compassion? And I'm not going to suggest to you my definitions of these terms, but I invite you now to use our time to reflect in your own hearts on these terms, and we will do this together. What really do we mean by them? And then we have a starting point from which in these days together to go in every direction, but at least we have some common ground, some common starting point. So our questions will be very simple. What do we mean by pilgrimage? What do we really mean by love? And what do we really mean by forgiveness? A pilgrimage is something very different from a journey. What is the difference between a journey and a pilgrimage? In a journey, you reach the goal. That is the essence of the journey. In a pilgrimage, every step is the goal. Now, every step is the goal. And the essence of pilgrimage is love. And that's what the story tells us and brings home in a much better way than we could come to understand by complicated thought. The essence of pilgrimage is love, because in love, with every step, you reach the goal. But now we have used the word love, and again we have to ask ourselves, what do we mean by love? Love has such a vast spectrum. Just think of your own use of the term love. You love your friend, you love your parents, you love your country, you love the world, you love your dog, you love nature, you love Assisi, I hope. What do all these loves have in common? Is it really one thing that underlies all these expressions? I love, I love, I love. I suggest to you, check it out for your own experience, that whenever we say I love, we mean I belong, in a sense of mutual belonging. I belong in a certain way to my dog even, certainly belong to my parents, to my children, to my friend, to my country. But even to wherever we say I love, it's an expression of belonging. So I suggest as a working definition that love is a yes to belonging. When we fall in love, that is wonderful, because then we say this yes to belonging with great enthusiasm, and we feel a great deal. But the feeling is not the important thing, and the superficial enthusiasm isn't the important thing. What really counts is a yes to belonging, and a yes that is not only spoken with your lips, but that is lived. A lived existential yes to belonging and to mutual belonging. Otherwise, it would just be enslavement. It's a yes to mutual belonging. And how do we express this mutual belonging? By sharing. It expresses itself, it must show itself. We express it by giving ourselves. Wherever you say yes to belonging, you have implicitly committed yourself to give yourself. And forgiving is also a kind of giving. So you ask yourself, what kind of giving is forgiving? And my answer is, it's the most difficult form of giving. Giving starts, sharing, giving starts with giving away, giving up, giving up. And giving up is something very different from letting down. So there is a taking that goes with the giving. Unless it is a give and take, it isn't really alive. It isn't really spiritual, because spirit means life breath, and spirituality means aliveness on every level. So there has to be a give and take. Your breath, that's your life breath, that's your spirit. If you only give a breath and stop there, you're dead. If you only take it, you're dead. It's a give and take. So with this giving must always go a taking. And what taking goes with giving up. You give up and you take care. That is the great difference between letting down and giving up. It's a giving that doesn't let down. It takes care of what it gives up. That is the first level. The next level of giving is giving thanks. What kind of taking goes with giving thanks? We have to say, I will say more about giving thanks later, but we all know from experience that with giving thanks also goes a taking, namely taking to heart. Unless you take something to heart, you cannot be grateful for it. You're always grateful wholeheartedly, not partly. You have to take it to heart. And that is already a much more difficult taking than taking care. It's whatever you take to heart eventually breaks your heart. And it breaks it open. That is the idea. If it just breaks it, that would be death. But when you really gratefully take something to heart, it breaks your heart open. And that openness leads to the third, and there we come to forgiveness, to the third most difficult form of giving, and that is forgiving. This for in forgiving is an intensive, little syllable that means an intensive form of giving. In the Latin languages, in Italian, perdonare. This that is the intensive of giving. And with this most intensive giving goes the most difficult form of taking. Namely, when you forgive an offense, you take this offense upon yourself. Tollere is the Latin word for it. Tollit peccata mundi. Takes away the sins of the world. The same word, tollere, means taking upon oneself and taking away. And when we take away the offenses, by taking them upon ourselves, forgiveness takes place. Unless we take them upon ourselves, it isn't really forgiveness. It's only pardon, so presidential pardon, where you sit up here and with the stroke of the pen, you pardon someone. In order to really forgive, you have to take the offense upon yourself. Why? Because you and whoever it is that has committed the offense and the most terrible crime, you are really one. And there is now where we have to ask the much more difficult question than what is pilgrimage and what do we mean by forgiveness and what do we mean by love. And the question is, who is asking the question? And only when we can answer that question will we understand what we really mean by love and forgiveness and pilgrimage. So if I ask you, who is asking the question? What will be your answer? You will say, well, me, or I myself. We have three terms. Does that mean there are three of you? Are there three of me? I, me, myself? There are not three. Obviously, there's only one. But one of my language teachers used to insist, when you have a different word, it means something different. Don't fool yourself. If it's a different word, it means something different. So since we say I at certain occasions, or I myself, or me, what is the difference? And when we say I myself, we mean our deepest roots. We mean that reality where we are all one, and we can come to that. We often forget it, we often overlook it. We can come to it right now. We can make a little experiment. You step back interiorly, step back, and you observe yourself. You observe your eye. I can step back and see my eye standing here talking. You can see me, observe yourself watching. That observer is also you. And the further you go back, the more you come to the real observer whom nobody else observes anymore. When you reach that point where you are the observer, obviously, and there's no one else who can observe it. There's no one else. That's the one great self. And that is the only self from which forgiveness can come. That is the only self through which love flows. Because through this opening, through this self that we all experience, we have access to the transforming power, to the creative power that fills the whole universe. This self is so inexhaustible that it has to express itself in ever new I. And all of us, each one of us is unique. There are no two even identical twins who are the same. So there's the I. The I is a person. There are many, many different persons and only one self. The self expresses itself again and again. And we all know that persona means originally mask. It is a mask that the self puts on in order to express itself. It's the serving I that serves the self to express itself and serves the world. That is the I. But there's a great problem now, and all the great spiritual traditions have discovered that problem, that this I out there suddenly thinks it is the center of everything. It becomes self-important, as if it were the self. And at that moment, it is no longer the serving I, but it is the deserving I that says, I deserve this, me, me, me. So it has suddenly become the me. So when the I becomes the me, it's something very negative, and we call it the ego. The ego usually has a bad press, but the I is wonderful. We need the I. So how then do we get from the ego to the self, where we are all one, where love is flows simply through? You can't even say that the self makes an effort to love. The self is love. Your innermost self is love. Because if love is the yes to belonging, that is what your innermost self is. It loves. That is why in the Hebrew Bible it says, love your neighbor as yourself. It does not say love your neighbor like yourself. That is a mistranslation, and unfortunately a very often used mistranslation. It does not say like yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. And you can love your neighbor only as yourself, because you are one self, and love means belonging. Yes to belonging. Like yourself is very difficult. Even the I finds it already difficult, let alone the me. The me is characterized by being caught up in time. The me is always either hanging on to the past or stretching out impatiently to the future or afraid of the future or feeling itself the victim of the past. The me is completely caught up in time, and it is fearful. If you want to know, am I now in my I, or am I in my me, am I in my serving I, or in my deserving me, in my ego, just ask yourself, am I afraid, fearful, anxious? The reason why the little I, when it thinks it is the center of everything, becomes fearful is that there are so many other centers and they may be doing something to me. And it becomes greedy, fearful, greedy, and caught up in time. Greedy because we are so many, and there is maybe not enough to go around. And so let's me, let's get a little more. So this is how you discover whether and to what extent you are in the me. Caught up in time, fearful, and greedy. The opposite is the self. The self doesn't have to be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. If we are all one, what should we be afraid of? It has the courage of love. Another aspect of the self is that the self is always in the now. Just this ego is in time, is caught up in time. The I is in time too, but not caught up in it. But the self is in the now, in eternal now. The now that doesn't pass away. And when time passes away, it doesn't affect the self at all. And the question is now, how do we go from this me to the self? Because then we will go from greed to sharing, to giving, to forgiving. We will be going to love quite spontaneously. We will be on pilgrimage, step by step by step, now and now and now. You can ask yourself, why is there time at all? Because this now is so full and so inexhaustible, just like the self. The self and the now are one. When you're in the now, you're in the self. When there's self, you're in the now. So inexhaustible that it has to give you one moment after the other ever new opportunities. That is why time is around, because if you miss one opportunity, you get another one. And if you take one opportunity, you still get another one, until your time is up. And that is the opportunity to do good, it's the opportunity to love, that's the opportunity to forgive. And if we ask ourselves now the question, how do I go from my me into which I slip every so often, from my little ego, how do I go to this life out of self? The answer is any spiritual practice, any spiritual practice. And I hope that all of you have some spiritual practice or other, because every spiritual practice has one goal. They all have one goal. They are very, very different from one another in the way they reach this goal, in the way they speak about the goal, in the ease with which they help you to reach the goal. But the goal is always the same. It is to be in the now. There's no spiritual tradition that doesn't aim at making you now, making you live now, consciously. Of course, you can't help living in the now, but consciously living in the now, being aware of being in the now. So any spiritual tradition can help you get there. But for those of you who don't have any spiritual tradition, and for those who have a spiritual tradition but want to get a little easier, quicker access to it, the answer is gratitude, gratefulness, grateful living. Because grateful living consists in recognizing the preciousness of the given moment as an opportunity. Recognizing the preciousness of the given moment. It's given. It's freely given. We all say that in our language, a given day, a given moment. we live under given circumstances. Everything is given. Well, if it's given, it's a gift. And the only appropriate response to a gift is gratitude. So you recognize consciously the present moment as a gift because it offers you an opportunity. And for this opportunity, you show yourself grateful by taking the opportunity, doing something with it, giving yourself to the opportunity. And most of the time, it's the opportunity to enjoy. But once in a while, it's the opportunity to do something very difficult. There are many things for which you cannot be grateful. War, oppression, violence, infidelity, many, many things. But there's no moment in which you cannot be grateful, because even when you are confronted with all these difficult things, you have the opportunity to do something, to stand up and if protest, or if not, at least you can learn something from it and grow by it. Every moment offers us opportunity. And if we allow that, if we get into this habit of waking up, noticing that this is now an opportunity to do something, then we are grateful. That is what grateful living is. And it can be expressed in very, very simple terms, in the terms that you tell children when they have to cross the street. Stop, look, go. And that is all we need to do for our spiritual life. Stop. That means realize that you are in this present moment. Don't just rush along. Stop. And if you build little moments of stop into your daily life, that is a great thing. Stop, look, appreciate. Most of the time we are overwhelmed by the joy of what this gives us. Appreciate. And then go, do something with it. Enjoy it, or do something more difficult. And that is what I would like to suggest to you as a sort of basic pattern for our time together here at CC. Always stop, look, go. It will work in every moment. We will stop. If we stop long enough to be in the present moment, we will appreciate, we will see what there is. We will appreciate the opportunity that is given to us, these incredible opportunities that are given to us during this week, and we will go in forgiveness, in a pilgrimage, a shared pilgrimage towards love and forgiveness.